How to be an extraordinary leader if you are an extrovert. Okay, so for many of us, we might think, oh, I'm kind of extrovert, I'm kind of introvert. There's this new dawn of something called the ambivert. That could all be true. But actually, deep down, there will be a leaning more towards extrovert or introvertism within yourself. And I'm going to identify what the extrovert is to see if you are one. And if you're not, that's okay. Keep watching, because you will be leading or working with people who are extroverts. So it's really important that you know this so that you can help them. So the extroverts are people who experience the external world first. That is what is real to them. The external world is how they see things, how they understand things. It happens outside of themselves. So it's through experiences, through expression, through stimulus outside of their own inner world of thought. And an extrovert often thinks out loud. They don't think so much in their head. It's hard for them to access thoughts in their head to then come out with the thought. They prefer, doesn't mean they can't, but their preferred state is to speak out loud. And it's in doing that, they then know what they're feeling or thinking. And it's an extrovert, for example, prefers to brainstorm straight away at the beginning of a project because they have access to that ideation and they want to play with all the ideas out here. But it doesn't mean that they're sticking to their guns on it. It doesn't mean they're promising it. They're just saying it out loud to see it in the external world, to decide, is that really true? Is that what I really want? Is that right? Extroverts can often be misunderstood for saying things and people believing they don't mean that. They don't have integrity. They didn't mean what they said. Well, that's probably because we're hearing extroverts as though they are definite and promising something, when really they're just ideating out loud. So the extrovert is a person that can talk to anybody in pretty much any situation, because for them, being in the external world is such an easy space. They have access to any kind of chat in any environment. They are very good at being chameleon-like and changing to their environments, because the external world, that's where they thrive. The funny thing about extroverts is they often use open vowels and have gestured hand body language. I think we can see right now that I'm probably the epitome of an extrovert. But rounded speech, projected speech, speaking into the external world is a natural space for the extrovert. But here's the thing with the extrovert. If an extrovert is unaware or not careful of the ordinary space of being an extrovert, they can go into what I call the hyperdrive. And the hyperdrive is where their strength as an extrovert almost goes on steroids and doesn't have balance and becomes the thing that undermines them, taking you away from being extraordinary. The ordinary part, without understanding yourself, can actually take you into a rather negative place where you undermine yourself as an extraordinary leader. So knowing if you're an extrovert is really important, so that you know, where does hyperdrive kick in. And I want to teach you 3 things as an extrovert to help yourself not go into hyperdrive. And the first is this: I want to protect you from that feeling. And you extroverts listening to this, you will know this when I say this. You know that feeling when you go to bed or you're driving back from an event and you go, oh no, why did I say that to that person? Why did I overshare? Why did I say that? The thing that happens for you is you said too much about something that you don't even really believe anyway. You're not fully committed to what you said. That often happens because when you were speaking, you didn't have enough discipline as an extrovert. You just let the tongue blah, 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 go without you. And you didn't think about holding on to the thing you were saying and being accountable for the thing you were saying. And the extrovert, we do that a lot. There are many events, many situations in my life where I've come back from an event going, why did I share that? Why did I say that? So I want to protect you from that feeling as an extrovert. And here's what it is. Get really disciplined about what you say, to who you say it, and when you say it. So I was working with a client who, fellow extrovert, his extrovertism means he can talk to anybody, from the janitor all the way to the sort of CEO. He's a really liked guy. He's a great man. But when we talked about this extrovert overdrive without discipline, he realized, yeah, I do it all the time. And he shared a funny story. He saw one of the janitors in a factory that he works at, and he went and sat and chatted to the janitor. And he didn't think it through, but he just started ideating out loud about a business project coming up, saying, yeah, we might do this, we might do that. Yeah, might do this, might do that. The janitor, meanwhile, listens to everything and then went and shared it with everybody. So everybody then thought it was happening. So on reflection, this said gentleman was realizing it was the extrovert on overdrive without discipline. He was sharing information that actually wasn't a definite thing. He was sharing it to the wrong person, and he was sharing it at an inopportune time. That meant that on the back of it, that janitor went into a room full of people from the factory floor and told everybody. So it ended up causing quite a lot of communicative mess and chaos. Now, that's an extreme example, but how many times do you overshare to your friends, to friends on the second or third ring of your life? How often do you overshare with someone you don't know that well, something or another? How often do you share a provisional idea that you're just playing with, but someone locks into it and thinks you need to be accountable for that now, and you're like, I didn't mean it? How often do you say things like, oh, let's meet for coffee, but you don't follow through on it because you were just saying it because it's a nice thing to say? Well, here's the thing. For the extrovert, it's a proverb actually, this, and I love it. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Commit to what you're saying, which goes on to my second thing. So the second thing is be tethered to your words. Hold on to your words. Now, I want to give you two metaphors, okay? One is a water skiing metaphor. I don't know if you've ever seen anybody water skiing, but when you're being pulled by the cord behind a speedboat, you're being pulled along, you have to hold on to that. But sometimes you can go outside of the wake of the boat and it pulls you out, and then you come back in, you're holding onto the rope. You are tethered to a rope on the boat. And I want you to think that your intent is the boat, your influence is the boat, and your tongue is you holding on. They have to be connected. You can't just let go, you'll fall off, you'll fall in the water. Being tethered to our intent is really important. Again, nodding back to let your yes be yes and your no be no. Say what you mean to the right people at the right time. If you need to ideate and if you need to have those spaces to think creatively outside the box, find those people, speak to them and say, can I play with you with my world of thought? Can I brainstorm with you? I'm not going to commit to any of it. I'm just being entirely conceptual at this point. Let there be spaces that you can articulate for that as an extrovert. But when you're speaking to people you're leading, your direct reports, etc., be true to your word, be tethered to what you're saying. My second analogy in that is another sporting analogy, a sport I don't do, but in clay pigeon shooting, as I understand it, the gun points. You look through with your eye, you point to the end of the gun, and it points to the clay. As you shoot, you don't just statically go and click. You follow the clay and shoot as you keep following it. There's like an arc, you following the target. And for you extroverts, follow your point through. Follow it. Don't follow it a bit and then do another one and do another one and do another one. In the wrong context with the wrong people in an environment where you're trying to gain influence and be extraordinary, the extraordinary is following through on something you are saying, committing to it, sticking to it, following it through, because otherwise you will be bouncing about from one idea to the next to the next. You will be untethered. You won't be landing a thought, and people will think you're scattered and chaotic. So stick to a thought. And it's such a good discipline because it's when you'll find your intellect, which is really, really exciting. And my final thought for the extrovert is when we get excited, when we get provoked, when we get, I guess, sort of any sense of stimulation, arousal to a situation, an intellectual thought, a frustration, what happens for the extrovert is all that cortisol kicks in, then all the adrenaline comes in, and then we've got our tongue that goes blah, 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 blah. And when we get into that state, we get slightly higher and slightly frenetic. We become quite fast and quite... And the thing to really help with that is to have a kind of mantra, I suppose, which puts you into a different state. And this mantra or mindset I want to suggest to you is really, really helpful. It changes your gravitas. It dials up the extra to your ordinary. And it's this: go low and slow. And what I mean by that is when we go low, our voice drops lower. And you can see the gravitas that comes with a voice that's dropped lower. There's a different energy to the one that's up here. It's a lower energy. And it's also a state of being humble. When we're low, we are going low. My dog is a very subservient dog. She goes low all the time. It's a humble state. We go low, we sit back, we go slightly lower in our chair, softening that high space, go low. And then something the extrovert loves to do is to go really fast because we're so excited and we've got so many words and blah, blah, blah. So slow it down. And you can correct me on this. I definitely constantly have to wash myself in this truth. But slowing down, getting a different tempo to the voice, to what we're sharing, to how we speak, how we conduct ourselves with that lower state, it means that the extrovert can actually be extraordinary. So just to recap, being an extrovert is great in and of itself. It's so much fun to be an extrovert. We can get the party started. We can chat to anybody. We can engage and stimulate others around us because we have access to quick thought, to quick speech, to quick chat. And we're never lacking in the ability to jump into adventure. So on the one hand, it's a great gift being an extrovert, but be mindful of your discretion and discipline of what you say to who and when. Be tethered to your intent, follow the thought through, and finally go low and slow as a way of helping you gain that authority, that extraordinary space in your leadership.